Good morning. Welcome to Viewpoint, your program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. This morning we have an excellent perspectives on the field of education. And before I turn the microphone over to the great owner of the show, she owns 51%, folks, so I have to be very nice to her. Besides that, she cooks me a meal once in a while. So kudos to the teachers who are laboring in the field of education today. These are difficult times for administrators and the teachers, ladies and gentlemen who are just in the classrooms. And this COVID thing has made a huge difference. And so I doff my hat in the direction of our administrators and our teachers. And having further no saying, Miss, you're hanging on every word, aren't you?
Yes, I am. You just amaze me.
Stunned. She's just
or was
stunned.
Maybe I was scared. It was one or the other.
So why don't you let's get right down to business to introduce our guest this morning, Mr. Busby.
We've been looking forward to speaking with these people. They're from Lincoln Elementary School District 27. Kent Froebe is the superintendent. Bless his heart.
Thanks for having me again. Appreciate it.
And Ginger Chaudoin is the principal at Washington-Monroe. And Kelly Bognanic is the principal at Central School, where all my kids went. And we're going to talk about schooling. And one of the first remarks that they made when they got in here was they're so glad to have the kids back in school and the teachers in the classroom and things going as normally as it ever can in the school business. And I'm so glad I don't have any little kids in school anymore. Well, I got great-grandkids in school now. But
did I ever tell you about my great-grandchildren?
I remember. It's coming back to me. But this has been a tough time, and I've been so worried about kids if they're getting enough and how it's going to end up for these young people who were just starting their education, and they kind of got started on the wrong foot, didn't they?
Well, there's no doubt that the last couple years have definitely been a challenge, and like you mentioned, Judy, remote learning, and the three of us all know that it's not best for kids.
No.
And so it's nice to have everybody back in the classroom. Our teachers, our faculty and staff are doing an excellent job throughout this, pandemic and the rough circumstances. Every day we're getting new guidance that's coming out from the ISBE and IDPH, which is a challenge. But our teachers are doing a wonderful job, and they just continue to get in the classroom and do what's best for kids, and I'll let Mrs. Chaudoin and Mrs. Bognanic talk a little bit about what we're doing to try to get kids caught up, because there are some that spent a whole year, at home, and that's a challenge for parents to. I think of my own kids, how challenging that would be, and I'm in education to work with my children if they were at home all year, and so I can't imagine some of these parents that were dealing with that last year. So I'll turn it over to Mrs. Chaudoin and Mrs. Bognanic, and they can talk a little bit about some of the interventions and things that they're doing in their buildings.
But let's kind of put a local tie to these two ladies, because we imported our superintendent. we didn't have anybody with that kind of education and training. So we had to go outside of Logan County to bring Kent in. So, but we have two ladies here local. So local imprimatur. Go ahead, Ginger. Somebody grab a microphone.
Okay. Yeah, I was born and raised in Lincoln. I went to Washington-Monroe School when I was in kindergarten through 6th grade. Loved Washington-Monroe. Went to the junior high. Loved the junior high experience and the high school. Went off to college and came back, and I taught at Mount Pulaski High School for a few years, and then I taught at Central School. I taught at the junior high, and then I went back to Washington-Monroe, where it all started.
So you have Old Home Week every week, don't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. I love it here.
Well, they're happy campers.
And your
there.
mom worked for District 27?
My mom was the superintendent
for a long time.
secretary for like 25 years. She went through about 4 different superintendents. Ended up with Mr. Froebe. She loved Mr. Froebe.
Well, that's no dead end.
I miss her.
Do you? I worked with her, and she was a nice lady. Very nice lady.
Excellent. Very detail oriented.
Yes.
And, anything I needed, she's phenomenal. So.
Well, Kelly, tell us a little bit about your background. We're happy to have you ladies with us this morning because we pretty much know that Mr. Froebe is a given quantity, and we're going to get a lot of wisdom out of him. So it's nice he brings you staff along.
You see why I keep coming back, right?
Well, he wants to make sure that our listeners, both of them, know that we have a great staff out there on District 27 teaching staff. So go right ahead, Kelly.
Yes, we do have a fabulous staff at District 27. I am born and raised in Lincoln as well as Ginger. I'm a couple years older than her. So I think we were in high school together, but I was probably a senior, big senior.
You were probably
when you were a freshman. Yeah. I am actually a West Lincoln Blue Jay. Kindergarten through 8th grade, and then went on to the high school. I left Lincoln for a few years, went to college, married a Chicago boy. Thought we would live in Chicago.
We forgive you for that.
Yeah. I brought him back. He now lives down here.
Now you're teaching him the right way, aren't you?
Yes, we love it down here. So we decided to return down to Lincoln and raise our family down here. So been here
So
ever
now
since.
you're both in this. Well, you're all three in the school business. What are you finding as the year now is getting established? How are the kids? How is it going? Am I unduly worried about these little kids who missed so much?
I don't think you're unduly worried. I think that's a real concern. So go ahead. He
Sure.
stepped on your answer right away. Go ahead.
Are you answering her?
Yeah.
We definitely have concerns. We do see some gaps in our education. Being remote last year, also only going to 145 last year, we did lose a lot of instructional time with our students. So having them back this year, we have a team in place that meets about every 6 weeks. We discuss students. We look at data. We collect data on our students frequently. And so we look at the data. We see where our students are, where their gaps are, and then we put interventions into place, small group reteach programs into place so that we can catch them and get them caught up as quickly as we can. We know that it's not going to all happen
In 1 year.
Right. But we're very aware of it, and we're making strides to.
How are you finding things? Is it worse than you thought it might be, or is it happily not as bad?
I'm okay with my central kids. We definitely have our few, but I think overall kids are resilient,
Yes.
and they learn quickly. And so now that they're back in school and we're learning the routine again, I think we're going to see great gains in most of our students.
You said they learned quickly. That kind of hurts a little bit. It took me 97 years to graduate from college. A serious note, and I mean this in that way. One of the things I've worried about, and correct me if you think I'm off base here, the virtual learning, youngsters at home. Many, I'll use the word many, homes are not qualified to help their youngsters. Some are inordinately not qualified. What happens to those youngsters? Do they drop through the cracks?
Well, we're doing everything we can so that doesn't happen. And I think our parents did such a great job. They really tried and they worked hard, and they're not teachers. So we know that it was difficult for them, and we tried to put as many things in place as we could. So, the Zoom calls, and so that the teachers could be face to face with them. We had ways that they could communicate with us and help with us to answer questions parents had about how to, help their child after the teacher was off of the computer. So we've really worked hard at that. Our parents really tried and did a great job, but we are super excited to have them back. There's nothing like being face to face with a teacher who can sit down and, show you how to do something.
Oh yeah. Now, how are you seeing things going? Are the kids grateful that they're back face to face with you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I
the
bet
kids
they
are. And
are.
I feel like one of my concerns was, the social piece that they were missing out from being in school. That's so
Yes.
important. Just to be
Yes.
with their friends. The kids are happy to do whatever we ask, to wear a mask, to social distance, as long as they can be with their friends.
Now, the schools in our area here are K through 8. District 27 is K through 8. So are West Lincoln, Broadwell, Chester East. They're all K through 8. Of those age groups, is it the younger ones who had a harder time, or the kids who were in the higher grades?
Well, that's a tough question, Judy, I think. But I think it all depends a lot on the individual kids.
Sure.
And their struggles
Of course,
and
it does
abilities
that in
and
school,
different things.
too.
But yeah, I feel like we're seeing an issue with or at least in my building, the kids that were like first grade-ish, where they're really learning to read, that in 2020 had to leave school, and then that was a tough piece for that age group, because
Oh, yeah.
learning to read is such a critical part of first grade and into second grade. So, we're really working with trying to push those kids forward.
Excuse me, Judith, go ahead.
Well, you've hardly had a very big crack at it this year. I mean, school's just been going about this long,
What is the mask protocol currently in school now? The youngsters wear a mask in classrooms?
Yep.
Yeah, that was an executive order that the governor established right before the start of, about a week before school started. Masks were mandated. At the time, it was kind of up to local control, and then he stepped in and said everyone had to wear a mask, whether you're vaccinated or not. And to be quite honest, I think the kids, and these two ladies could probably answer better, but the kids, like Kelly said, are resilient. They don't, it doesn't bother them, I don't think. I think some of the parents had more of an issue with the mask than the kids do. The kids show up, they have their mask on, and it's not really an issue. I think they're just excited to be in school, interacting with kids, going outside. When they go outside for recess, they take their masks off, and that's when they're playing with each other and that sort of thing. So, but anytime they're indoors, unless they're eating, they have to have their mask on. So that's where we're at currently.
I would suspect that our advertisers think we have muzzles on instead of masks, because we're not giving them any time. If Mr. Ash is ready to flip the right switch, we'll go right ahead to some commercials. And we're right back live in the studios here at WLCN 96.3 on your dial, high on the windy hill. I guess it's windy out there. I'm not sure. I haven't looked recently. In any event, our guest this morning, and we're happy to have them. We have two lady guests. We have Kelly Bognanic. I see. I didn't pick that up until just now. Well, I'll tell you about my hard of hearing. Anyway, Judy Chaudoin, and our erstwhile. And we're happy to have our superintendent back, not our principal, our superintendent of District 27, Mr. Kent Froebe. We're very appreciative of your taking your time to be with us this morning. While we were off air paying obeisance to our sponsors, we were talking about the fact that it's necessary to have a medical test for some of our staff members who are not vaccinated. So would you address that question, Mr. Froebe?
Well, that's another one of the governor's unfunded mandates and executive orders that came across here recently. And so we do have around 82% of our faculty and staff are vaccinated, but we do have some, obviously, then that have chosen not to, which is fine. It's their choice. So every week now we have to test them, and it's a lot of extra work on our nurse, but she has really stepped up, and Nurse Jamie Froebe does an excellent job for District 27. She really has been kind of a rock throughout this whole pandemic. She's taken on times 100 the amount of work that she had before, and she already had a lot of work before. So kudos to Nurse Jamie. Also appreciate the Logan County Health Department. they've really stepped up, and they're providing all of the school districts in Logan County the Binax Now rapid tests. So Mary Anderson and Kara Davis and their crew have really stepped up to help out school districts, and so as long as they continue to provide the tests, we'll be able to weekly test our unvaccinated employees, and then kind of go from there, and we'll see how long that. At some point, this has got to come to an end, don't you think? That this is we're going to hit a peak, and it's going to see a drastic decline. I sure hope so. But for the time being, we'll continue to, follow the guidelines and do what we can to keep kids and staff safe. So
there's just no one who's not affected in some way or another, even up to Bill's and my stage in life. There are great grandparents who are raising some of these little kids, and so they have to get themselves and the kids vaccinated. Pretty soon we have to vaccinate them down. It'll be mandated to a really much less.
Well, I think they're working on, is it down to age 6?
Yeah, 6 to 11 or 12.
Yeah, and that the last I heard was maybe out right before Halloween. So they're working on it.
Oh, well, they're right there.
Yeah,
then.
they're working on it. I mean, of course, it changes daily on when that's coming out, but. I also think the community of Lincoln, I hear horror stories of some of the other school districts and communities that are going through this. I feel like the city of Lincoln and the surrounding little communities have really stepped up and are in it for the right reasons, which is the children, and we're not getting a lot of people calling in complaining. They want to see their kids in school. They want them educated, not remotely. And they're doing everything that they can to work together with the school district to provide the best education for their kids, and we can't thank them enough, our parents and the community members. We're very fortunate to have also Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital and under the direction of Dolan Dowpaws, and I talk to him regularly, and he's, he keeps us updated on some of the data and what's going on out at the hospital with how many, cases they have out there, and so it really has been a community effort to try to work through the pandemic, and we appreciate everyone's support at home to make sure that everything at school is running smoothly. So,
but conversely, Superintendent Froebe, I'm inclined to think that a great deal of the support you have comes from the fact that the folks in Logan County, in the city in particular, since you have District 27 under your jurisdiction, they're satisfied with your efforts, and they have a good feeling about our educators and our teachers. I think for the most part, and I mean the very most part, they're well respected, and I'm not trying to stroke these young ladies here on the microphone, but we just respect our educational services.
Well, and I think, District 27, I could sing praise all day long about the administrators on down, to everyone who works in the district. I mean, they're in it for the right reasons, but I think that goes beyond District 27 all the way up to our colleges in town. They're doing everything they can to keep people safe and care about the kids that are coming into Lincoln and our surrounding districts. I know the superintendents well at West Lincoln and CEL, and obviously the high school, New Holland, Middletown, and even, our parochial schools, Zion and Carroll. We've got good people working in our schools across the county and are doing the best that they can for their kids. And of course, I'm biased. District 27 is obviously doing the best, but
I'd have to agree with you, Mr. Froebe.
Well, we'll share that bias. I think county in the city. I can't speak to the county system because I don't know the educators around the county that well, but I know. We've been blessed to have a good district going back to the days of your predecessors.
How about these little kids in the primary grades? I'll bet you've heard some kind of cute remarks from them about the fact that they have missed being in school.
Well, you're putting us on the spot with cute remarks, I think. But, I mean, they are super excited to be back. It's so, it's just nice to see them back and playing and getting out on the playgrounds and doing all the things that, little kids want to do.
Did the socialization lag at all? Because I think we overlook that important part of schooling, especially for the youngsters, is they learn to get along with kids from all over town, not just the kids on their block. Mr. Froebe was going to say something, but I scared him.
No, I was going to let the ladies kind of take that one. How is socialization? I was going to jump in with a cute story, that I heard.
Good.
So,
please.
But we had moved on. But I just know that we, as I've talked about before, I had our food service director on, and we went to scratch cooking, which is a challenge, and our cooks are doing a phenomenal job. A shameless plug, though, we do need more cooks. So if anyone's listening and wants to apply, we're looking for head cooks at a couple of our buildings. So apply to District 27. It's getting people. We're trying to get people back to work. Yes, and so we need cooks. We need substitute teachers. Another plug. Well, if you're interested in subbing, stop by the district office on 304 8th Street. We'd love to have you sub. We just increased the pay to $115 a day to sub. Yeah.
I'm starting.
I almost said that.
I'm starting to get interested. Maybe Mr. Ash is going to apply for that too.
We'll be there soon if we can get more people. So, but no, the other day I had the superintendent. We recently took over Zion School and New Holland Middletown School, providing their scratch meals for them. They used to go with the high school. And so I had the superintendent tell me that a little boy stopped her and said, "Do you know my mother?" And she said, "Well, of course I know your mom." And he said, "Well, can you tell her to make me this?" And pointed to his lunch that he had. And so,
is that right? Bless his heart.
Kudos to our cooking staff and our food service director, Connie
Now, what was
Crowley.
the impetus behind going to scratch cooking?
We were approached by the hospital, and Angie Stolzenberg kind of really spearheaded that about bringing in Chef Greg, which I've had on the program before. He's out of Chicago, but he did a year-long training with our cooks, and we just felt it necessary to try to provide healthier, meals for our kids for breakfast and lunch. And the thing that I really like about it is that a lot of it is purchased locally from local farmers. So we're getting fresh meat, fresh produce right here in Logan County and the surrounding communities.
So that benefits two groups.
Correct.
The
yes.
kids and the providers.
The hardcore truth is that in many, perhaps most instances, that's the most nutrition these kids are going to get in a day's time.
Correct.
That's our hope, is to provide them with some good, nutrition each day and get them an opportunity to try some things that maybe they have never tried before.
Now, was this a mandate, the serving of scratch meals and the serving of 2 meals a day?
Now we are required to serve 2.
Yeah, we are required to serve 2 meals a day, but the scratch is not a mandate. That was our district working with the hospital just to see, through the Logan County Community Partnership. I don't want to say the right thing. And they do a lot of surveying of the community to see what needs we have, and that was one of the things that came out of that. So they approached us to work with them. And we're glad they did, because we have some good food there.
Yes.
Kelly, we're sitting here kind of cutting you out of the scene, so to speak, and I don't want to do that.
I'm the quiet one of the bunch.
And that's a quiet. Okay, that's fine. Everybody has to have one. But I want you to feel comfortable and free to step up with any remarks that you would like to make. And you can even direct them to me, and it'll be all right. I won't. I want to divert myself, though. I have a little list here that Superintendent Froebe had jotted down, and he had the word Gaga. Gaga pits. And I'm the only one alive left that remembers Zazu pits.
It makes us think you should step up your English department.
So
The name was.
let's address that first, and then I want to get back to back to school learning and so forth, how that works. So let's take the Gaga Pitts, whoever she is.
Well, I'm going to kind of step back just a second to tell you that Washington-Monroe did get a brand new playground
Yes.
that was installed over the summer, and then we had a ribbon cutting in the first week of school based on the Ryan Williams Memorial Playground Foundation funds.
That was nicely done, too, that little dedication.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yeah.
So, that tragedy brought about the idea that one of the things that he wanted was to see a new playground at Washington-Monroe where his kids go. And so we worked with the Williams family and friends to get this playground, and it's quite fabulous. And if you have not been by to see it or taken your small children over to play, please do so, because it's really great. And we're still working on it. We still have some things to come in. We're working on some benches and tables and things and some new landscaping. So, but one of the parts of the playground was the Gaga pit, which Stephen Rohr, our board president, must have grandkids up in the Chicago area. Right.
His son is,
So they had heard about these Gaga pits, and we looked into them. And basically, it's just a round plastic area that's on cement. So we had a cement poured, and then this big plastic area, and it has a little gate the kids can go in. The kids, when it first came out, said to me, "What is this where we go when we're in trouble?" And I'm like, "No, it's not." But so it's a game, and all the kids go in the circular area there, the pit, and they have a ball, and they throw it up in the air, and they yell "Gaga ball," and then they can hit it with just only their hands. So they hit the ball with their hands, and they have to try to make the ball hit someone else from the waist down. And if they hit them, then they're out. So
The person that has been hit is
the person
out.
that got hit by the ball is out.
It's kind of a version of dodgeball
Yeah.
enclosed.
It
Yeah, but
sounds-
you have to, you can't aim at the face because you're out if.
Yeah, that'd be tacky.
The person who hits someone else in the face would be out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we want to go where it's not going to cause an injury.
I'm not going to get in that pit with my wife. Because she's going to be out right away.
She'd go right for the jugular.
That's right.
Yeah.
Go for the jugular.
So all three schools will have a Gaga pit. Washington-Monroe and Northwest are already installed, and the kids are playing. Central's will be installed tomorrow. So you can come to any playground, and there'll be
But the
a
kids
Gaga
seem
pit.
to love it, and
They do. And we're planning at Washington-Monroe, we're doing a Gaga ball championship. So our PE teacher, Mrs. Anweiler, along with some of my other teachers, have been teaching the kids how to play Gaga ball during PE. And next week they'll have each class will play, and so like the top 3 kids in each class then will go on to the championship round, which we'll do on the playground on a Friday afternoon, and then our teachers are signing up to play the top kids from they'll play a game, and then those winners will play
So
the
the
kids
adult
are
who
going to get to
asked-
play the teacher, so we'll see if they go for their faces.
To the adult who asks, well, what's that got to do with education? Well, it's got everything to do with education. These kids need to go off a little steam. And so Steve Rohr shows something he thought was unique. And thanks, Steve, for bringing that down to us. I'd never heard of that
Well, it
thing.
goes back to the socialization. That's part of
And
the
in
socialization.
games, there's a lot of having to learn to follow directions and to do it the right way. There's a lot to be learned from games. It's not, reading, writing, and arithmetic are certainly important. God only knows. But you have to learn to get along with people and to follow rules.
play by the rules, correct?
And speaking of by the rules in sports, right across the street from our junior high building, we have a lovely new athletic facility. Mr. roar. Go right. Testing 1, 2. Are we still live? Kent, go right ahead. Tell us about that new field, because that certainly looks really neat.
So, school districts across the state received some federal funds during the pandemic, ESSER funds, and we were looking at ways to utilize ours. A percentage of it has to and should go towards learning loss, and so we looked at different ways to, hire interventions. We provided summer school a little bit longer than we typically do, and for more students, the purchasing of curriculum and different ways that we could, really tackle that learning loss and the gaps that we talked about earlier. But we also looked at ways to get kids outside more, and so on rainy days we thought, you know what, if we turfed our infield and we put a turf warning track around the baseball field, then on rainy days, right after it rained, the PE department could get outside and be outdoors, and that's kind of what they're wanting during COVID, during the pandemic, to get kids outdoors, maskless as much as possible. And so we really turned it around quickly. We thought of the idea late last spring, and we put it out to bid, and J&L Strawn out of Rochester won the bid, and they came in, and it was kind of a neat process to watch throughout the summer, the way that they tore the dirt infield out. They put the gravel down and they compact that, and then came the AstroTurf at the end, and so it's a really nice facility. And so Woody Jones stepped up, and he approached me a while back and said, I really want to give to the baseball field. I grew up playing on sandlot baseball on that field when I was a kid. And I went to the junior high, and so I'd like to give back. And so he donated the money. He and his wife Sue donated the money for the scoreboard, and so it turned out really nice, and we're happy with how it looks for downtown Lincoln. And we like to say, we're trying to get teams to schedule some tournaments this spring and summer to get some people to downtown Lincoln and have little tournaments there and play the turf in downtown Lincoln. So we're excited about it.
That
Good
ball
for you.
field is, excuse me, Judith K. You can run ahead.
I'm so grateful that we live in small town America, where these things can come to pass and people know about them and people appreciate them and people utilize them. By golly, I think we did the right thing.
That field across the street from the junior high is deeply ingrained in people's minds, their memories, because during the Depression, the Merchants had what they called a kitten ball league. And they used about an 8-inch ball or something like that. And they had teams, and they were fiercely competitive. And nights people walked from their homes down there and surround that ballpark and sit on chairs and watch them, and it was a big deal.
Well, since we started renovating, it's been fun. I had never heard that before, but the number of people who have stopped by just to watch and tell stories of, the fast pitch softball leagues, or watching their kids play, or about Ralph Gale, who the field's named after,
Yes.
and so it's been kind of a fun process all summer to hear stories from people who just want to stop by and share their stories of their memories of the field and how excited they are that we're, really fixing it up. And,
I think it's appropriate to nod your head in the direction of Woody and Sue Jones. Woody is one of the first kids that I had on. In those days, Merchants sponsored 3 kitten ball league and that sort of stuff, or hardball. And Woody was one of the first team I sponsored. And so that goes back a long way. That ages Woody a little bit. Now, we've talked I'm trying to read. We talked about Ryan Williams Playground, and that was a marvelous thing. Scratch cooking. Well, we've already covered that little theory.
I bet there are some kids, probably would have been mine, who got awful used to TV dinners, and this is a nice rise in their taste buds.
Well, that's what the other day I walked in and they were making the marinara sauce. They were using fresh hamburger meat and then they had made the noodles for homemade lasagna, and I thought, I never had anything like this at school, at school lunch. And so it was pretty amazing, and the kids seemed to really like it, and like I said, our cooks have really stepped up, and I think that hopefully they take pride in what they're serving and are excited that the results that they see, the excitement from the kids, and the number of kids that I've heard that go home and say, I'd like to try a green pepper because I loved it or a red pepper that I had at school and loved it, and so I think that it's definitely a rewarding initiative that we started, and hopefully we'll continue to carry on. That said, we need cooks though. If you're interested, if you're interested in working for District 27.
Give us a number too, Kent.
217-732-2522. We'd love to have you apply.
So when you're talking about the scratch cooking, I have to tell you something funny. When I was a little one at Washington-Monroe, I remember going through the lunch line and being very excited because they scooped up ice cream onto your tray, like this big thing of ice cream, and then I got to my seat and I, took the bite and it was mashed potatoes. So now I can't wait to eat the mashed potatoes because they are so good. But that kind of was like, I don't know if I want to eat school lunch anymore when I was little.
Nobody likes to hear an old man reminisce. But in the days when I went there to school, nobody ate at school. You walked home. Or sometimes the kids, particularly the rural kids, came in and they had their little lunch buckets. They all got together in the ag department and had their lunch there. Everybody else went home.
Yeah. We don't want them leaving now. We want to keep them there all day.
Well, and today there isn't anybody home cooking at noon in most cases, where back when
a lot more working
there
parents than those now than
you
we
bet.
had then. Yeah.
You betcha.
It was the one thing that you could change, Ginger, accepting the oversight of Mr. Froebe. Is there one thing that you could change at Washington-Monroe that would work well for you?
One thing that I could change
that would slip under me.
Yeah, you go ahead and start thinking, Kelly, while I'm on this spot. Gee. I mean, I guess just looking forward, I hope that we don't have to go back to remote ever. I would.
Yes.
My hope is that we can stay in person, fully in person, because it's much better. It's a much better day for all of us, I think.
Amen.
Well, who could have predicted what we're faced with this pandemic and what an incredible effect it's had on not only the schools but homes, the world, the country over, and indeed, I guess, from the world over, for that matter. But one of the problems we face is we have people who would like to be smarter than anybody else, or at least act that way, and they're telling us, pontificating what to do and what not to do, and you don't know who the heck to believe.
Yeah.
I would go to the White House for that. I just lost my license. Kelly?
Yes.
You've been very quiet again.
I'm sorry.
That's that Sheridan Township influence on you here, the Shelton influence.
Yes.
When did you start in our district, my dear?
This is my 7th year as principal of Central.
Had either of you taught in another school district before you came here?
I was at Illini Central Middle School, High School for 7 years before I came here.
Are you glad to be in 27?
Absolutely. Yes, without a doubt. And I would say that even without Mr. Froebe sitting here.
I think that'd be
good
the
for
case.
you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Well, I dare say Bill and I and Jim have all been very pleased with the education our kids have gotten in District 27, believe you me.
Yes, it's a great district.
Well, and both of them have kids that are going to college now to get into education, and hopefully we'll have their kids come back and work in District 27 as well. So Kelly's got a daughter who's going to be doing her training, as a speech pathologist. Is that second semester? She's going to be starting that. And Ginger has a daughter who wants to be a special education teacher. She's at Northern right now, so
Good for her.
hopefully they'll be able to influence them to move back to Lincoln and work in District 27.
And those are a couple of categories under which some kids just fell off the bus because nobody was trained in speech pathology or special ed. And so we've come a long way, and thank goodness for that.
We still need them, so it's a real shortage area for speech pathology and special education. There are a lot of opportunities for kids that are interested in that to have their schooling completely paid for if they're willing to come back and work in the public schools for a couple years. So if anybody ever has questions about that, I try to share that information. That's
Well,
how my
you know-
daughter's going to school. So.
And those would certainly be areas where the teacher's input in the student's life would be greatly appreciated by the student and the parents as well. Oh, did I do something?
Go ahead.
Well, and
No.
the shortage of I've talked about the cooks and subs, but there's a shortage across the board, and there's a real teacher shortage as well. Long gone are the days where we would have a second grade opening and we might get 50 to 100 applicants. We're lucky to get 2 or 3.
Do you have any theory as to why that would have happened? When I was a little girl, any little girl you'd have asked, what do you want to be when you grow up, would have said, I'm going to be a teacher.
Yeah, a teacher or a nurse, I think, was
or a
what
nurse.
they,
That was
what
your-
they did. You know, so I guess for women, in some ways, it's good that they have broadened their horizons and been
bit,
able to
yeah.
make other choices. I feel like, you know, there's a lot that's of mandates and changes in education, maybe that have caused people to look at other opportunities. But you know, we're always trying to find ways to get kids to go into teaching, and hopefully, you know, we're successful with that. I'm not sure I know why. That it's a hard job. I mean, I will say that teaching's a hard job, and I think a lot of times
Yes.
people go into teaching thinking, "Oh, this will be something easy," and they get in and they go, "Oh," and they leave. So, you know, we need really smart, driven kids to go into the field of education.
But it goes without saying, educators, that teachers are be tickled to death to have kids come to school who are anxious to get to school and whose parents support the teachers. That's a very, very important thing for our youngsters, to have their parents know how important the teachers are to them. And sometimes this hustle and bustle, they just kind of fall with the cracks, and everybody accepts the teacher. And of course, the administrator, they take them, well, that's just the way it is. That's not the way it is. It takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of empathy. And so we appreciate the fact that you ladies and Kent would come up and visit with us. Kelly, Bognanic. Is that close enough?
There's no Vic.
No way.
Bognanic.
Ginger Chaudoin and Kent Froebe. We appreciate your taking your time. You've graced us this morning with your presence, and I'll let you have a final word on the before Mr. Ash closes that switch.
Well, just thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Go District 27.